Welcome back to Snark and Spark. My name is Emily, and today is my February reading TBR. First off, I'm drinking coffee. It is called Turtle Dove Love. It is from my local coffee shop where I live, and it is delicious. It's white chocolate, caramel, English toffee, and espresso, of course. I'm covering the label because you don't need to know where I live. Second of all, yesterday was my birthday, which is crazy. I am filming this the day after my birthday because part of my birthday present was that my husband and my son are gone for the entire day. So it is a Sunday. It is Sunday, February 4th. My birthday is February 3rd. Now you know I am officially 30 years old. Okay. I had a wonderful birthday. My husband threw a party. My friends came over. I had requested previously a nerdy 30 birthday party where I just wanted to sit at home and be cozy and play games, and that's what we did. So my friends came over. Dress code was pajamas. We ordered pizza, and then we just played games all night, and it was fantastic. And because we're all old, everyone was gone by like 10:30. So yes, happy birthday to me. It's super exciting. So I am a couple days late. I wanted to have this video out a little bit sooner than I did, so just so you know what I was reading in February, but that's okay because we're here now and I have the time to record because, like I said, part of my birthday present is that today my husband and son are gone. They have left the house and they are off doing stuff together. They're snowboarding, and I get to just hang out and have the house completely to myself on a weekend, which never happens. So I'm choosing this time to film and record and edit, and then I'm gonna read because I can. I have no responsibilities today, and it's one day first. Mwah. Okay. What else? That was first and second. Third, I have new hair. It's awesome. I always like to show it off. My natural hair color is this brown. I am a darker brown. That's just my natural hair color. We've kind of been sticking with it, but we've added in like highlights, and my favorite color is orange. So I have bright orange highlights in my hair, and I did completely change my style, as you can see. I don't remember mentioning it, but it did happen. It used to be a lot longer, and I wore it more like this, and it would hang down. I didn't want that. I've got it a lot shorter, and I'm just kind of letting it do what it wants. I haven't styled it today, so be nice. And finally, this is my shirt for today. It says Book Travert. It is in orange, and this was a Christmas gift from my mother-in-law, and it's fitting for today's video, which is books. Again, my February TBR. So let's dive right in. February is a shorter month. It is a leap year, though. We get one extra day. Woo, we have 29 days instead of 28. So I'm going to be more gentle. I had a goal of reading 6 books in January, and I read 5. And I'm pleased with that. That's totally cool. I think 4 is a good goal for February, and if I get more, I get more. So my main focus for February is obviously going to be Magical Stitches related, since that is the group that I run. So we're going to start there. First and foremost, for those participating in Magical Stitches, the book of the month is Valiant by Holly Black. It is book 2 in the Modern Fairy Tales trilogy. I already read it, obviously. I need to be reading ahead. So for me, I am still reading Holly Black, but I am reading the 3rd book in the trilogy. So this is Ironside by Holly Black. This is a newer version. It was originally published in let's double check. Sorry, just kidding. In 2007. This was originally published in 2007. And she revamped the covers and stuff, which I like a lot more. I like these covers way more than the original. This ties in with the whole, her whole universe as a whole, especially since these occur like tangentially to the Folk of the Air series, which is something we'll get to later in the year, but these covers definitely match that aesthetic, and I love that a lot since they do kind of happen in this overarching universe. But yes, so this is the 3rd one. This is, again, the newer published version. This has a bonus short story at the end. So this was these versions were republished in 2019. This was redone in 2019 along with the short story that is at the back of this book called The Lament of Ludi Lou, who is a character in this trilogy, and that was also written in 2019, and they've just added it on. That is not required reading. I just wanted to show that out there. I will be reading this cute little short story. So, but of course, every month, along with the book of the month, I also set 3 additional challenges for the group. Gosh, there is always a cover color challenge. Then there's always like a standard. You would find this on like any reading challenge, anywhere challenge, and then there's always going to be a word in the title challenge. So, first off, for the color cover challenge, you need, and there's always going to be 3 options to give people room. I want to pull it up to make sure I say everything correctly so you understand what is going on. So you do not obviously have to be in the group to join my reading challenge. If you want to just read along with us, please do. Don't feel like if you're not a Stitcher that you have to become a Stitcher in order to have fun with this. That is not the case at all. You can just read along because you find these prompts challenging or fun. Okay. I also allow anyone in my group to start reading a book a maximum of 3 days before the start of the month. So I know we're now 4 days into February, but if I had done this on time, which in the group I had posted, so it was fine, they could start reading any book by January 29th, so on and so forth. For this coming, for like next month in March, you'll be able to start reading. You can start reading on the 27th of February. The only thing is you cannot finish the book before February. It has to be finished in February for it to count as a book read in February. So if you start a book, if you are a Magic Fast reader, if you start a book on the 29th of January and then you finish it by the 31st or on the 31st, that does not count as a February book because you read it in January. Just keep that in mind. So, I love my little prompt. I'm going to read it to you. I have come one, come all, gather round for a tale. I am the librarian here under the hill, and I have a few challenges for you to undertake. First things first, the book of the month is Valiant by Holly Black. You will find it hidden somewhere among the many shelves. Now, if you crave something more, I have 3 quests for you to explore. I understand I don't rhyme every single time, or they are kind of slant rhymes. It's fine. I'm a weird fae folk, okay? Number 1, look long and hard for a bright red, pink, or fuchsia cover. Be sure to show us all what you find with a picture. So, I'm going to show you some options and along with tell you what I am personally reading. I am reading Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Now, this is what I mean by bright red. It is red, but it is bright. I do not want any dark crimson, brick reds, blood reds, none of that. No dark reds. That might come up later. This is bright red only, okay? We're in Febby. It is the month of Febby. Lots of Valentine's Day stuff. It's always lovey-dovey. There's always a lot of pink. Whatever. You can find bright red covers. I am personally reading Me Before You, Jojo Moyes, like I said. This is on my shelf. One of my secondary goals for the year is that I have a 24 and 24, meaning I want to read 24 books in the year 2024. All of those particular books, though, are coming from my personal shelves, from my personal library, my shelves upstairs in my bedroom, because I've kind of talked past that I want to actually read what's on my shelves and decide if I want to keep it or if I want to unhaul it. And I'm looking at maybe 3 to 3.5 stars and up, I will keep. And if it's below that, it's gone. That way I actually have books on my shelves that I like and would recommend, and I know that those are my favorites. This was gifted to me by my sister as a Christmas present a couple years ago. I did not realize it is part of a series, but it is. But this is the first book in the series, and this is my pick for bright red cover. And it's one of my 24 and 24. Now, other examples. I just picked these up from the library just to show you. This is also bright red. This is called The Rosie Project by Graham Simsion. No idea. It is a fiction novel. This is super, it looks funny. It's The Art of Love is Never of Science. We've got this brilliant yet socially challenged professor of genetics who has decided it's time he finds a wife. So, super cute. This is The Rosie Project. Oh, do you want me to tell you what my book is about? This is Me Before You. It was made into a film. I have not watched the film. I have not read the book, so this is my first dive into it. So, what is this? We've got Louisa Clark is an ordinary girl living an exceedingly ordinary life, steady boyfriend, close family, who has barely been farther afield than her tiny village. She takes a badly needed job working for ex-Master of the Universe Will Traynor, who is wheelchair-bound after an accident. Will has always lived a huge life. Big deals, extreme sports, worldwide travel, and he is not interested in exploring a new one. Will is acerbic, moody, bossy, but Lou refuses to treat him with kid gloves, and soon his happiness means more to her than she expected. When she learns that Will has shocking plans of his own, Lou sets out to show him that life is still worth living. Me Before You brings to life two people who couldn't have less in common, a heartbreakingly romantic novel that asks, what do you do when making the person you love happy also means breaking your own heart? Now, I would be lying though if I told you I didn't know how it ends, because of course I know how it ends. I have not lived under a rock. I do know the story. I just have not actually read it or watched the movie in its entirety, but when it became super popular, I do know how it ends. That's fine. So, other examples of pink books. I have one. I did not grab a bunch of pink books because I'm going to tell you your best bet for finding a pink book is to look for romance, especially at your library. If you go into a romance section, you're going to find pink books. There were so many just at my library when I walked through the shelves. I grabbed one by a popular author, but trust me, you will have no problem finding a pink cover if romance is your thing. This was filed under fiction, okay? So, we've got Happy Place by Emily Henry. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Emily Henry. She is a very popular romance writer. I've heard really, really good things. This is bright pink, and this is, what is this one? Yes, so this one is about Harriet and Wynne, who, perfect chance. This is like second chance romance, I believe. I don't read a lot of romance, but I do try and stay up with the tropes so that I understand what's going on. Yes, so this is, I believe, second chance because Harriet and Wynne have been together. They were awesome. They broke up 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends. And then they have to go back on, they go on like a vacation with their friend group and pretending to still be together because they haven't told their friends they've broken up. So essentially, they're thrust close proximity, second chance romance called Happy Place. Bright pink. Then our last option would be fuchsia. And I have two options here to show you. So we've got Lock Every Door. Could also be considered pink. The text is very pink. The background is kind of purpley. It gives it a fuchsia pink vibe. You could call this either one. So Lock Every Door, this is a thriller. This is Riley Sager, popular thriller author. Let's see, no visitors, no nights spent away from the apartment, no disturbing the other residents, all of whom are rich or famous or both. Those are the only rules for Jules Larson's new job as an apartment sitter at Bartholomew, one of Manhattan's most glamorous and secretive buildings. So she has to house sit in an apartment and not leave and don't bother people. I've heard good things. I have not read it. And then lastly, this is horror. This is a horror short story collection by V. Castro. This is Mestiza Blood, a short story collection of nightmares, dreams, desires, and visions of the Chicana experience. And this is fuchsia. And like I said, it is horror. And there are options depending on what type of reader you are interested in. I didn't want people to feel locked into having to read romance if romance is not your thing. Romance is not my go-to genre. I'm assuming Me Before You is going to be kind of romantic, but who knows? But if romance is your thing, you're going to have plenty of options. If it's not, though, there are still options for you. I picked fiction, I found a thriller, and a horror. So don't feel locked into a certain category if that's not your thing. Okay? Next, of course... Well, that is not. Now, it is Black History Month. So number 2, we honor those whose struggles are different from our own. Read a book written by a BIPOC author. So for those of you who don't know, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, Person of Color. So that's what I want you to go for. I have a couple options to show you as well. The book I have chosen is We Are All So Good at Smiling by Amber McBride. Sorry, you're getting my reflection of... We Are Also Good at Smiling by Amber McBride. She wrote Me Moth. Me. I always mix those up. Me Moth. That I read in January of last year. And if you remember, or if you watched my tier list, it was one of those books that tells you everything you need to know about me. I absolutely fell in love with it. So I'm really excited to read another book by her and see if it's going to rock me to this core. This is shorter. It's only 4 hours. It is told in verse, and it is narrated by the author. It says that we've got... Oh, this is also cool. This audiobook features music and special effects. Listen along and enjoy the fun that is We Are All So Good at Smiling. That's exciting to me. So it's like a full production audio. So we've got, it says, They Both Die at the End meets The Bell Jar in this haunting, beautiful young adult novel in verse about clinical depression and healing from trauma. So right up my alley. Whimsy is back in the hospital for treatment of clinical depression. When she meets a boy named Fairy, she recognizes they both have magic in the marrow of their bones. And when Fairy and his family move to the same street, the two start to realize that their lifelines may have twined and untwined many times before. They are both terrified of the forest at the end of Marsh Creek Lane. The forest whispers to Whimsy. The forest might hold the answers to the part of Fairy he feels is missing. They discover the forest holds monsters, fairy tales, and pain that they have both been running from for 11 years. So, super, super exciting. It came out in January of 2023, looks like. So I will be reading that. But there are so many other awesome BIPOC authors out there. Colson Whitehead is awesome. He wrote The Underground Railroad, which is an amazing book, but it did absolutely wreck me, just so you are aware. He also wrote Nickel Boys, and I can look because I've got so many options. You could also just look, so like this is Libby, this is my Libby app. It is connected to my library, so it's obviously going to populate. We have a whole section that says February is Black History Month, and we've got all kinds of books written about African American people and written by African American people, which is super exciting. But where is I know you're in here. We'll just look him up. Colson Whitehead. We've got Crook Manifesto, which I think is one of his newer books. The Underground Railroad, like I said. Harlem Shuffle, The Nickel Boys, Zone 1. But yes, The Underground Railroad, like I said, it destroyed my heart. We also have, I read last year, The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Also a beautiful, amazing story. Also broke my heart, but it was amazing and I loved it. Highly recommend that book as well. And Elizabeth Acevedo, I believe, is also a good author to look into. I have a book that fits into two categories, so it depends. I also have, this is Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. Elizabeth Thomas is a Black author, but if you'll notice, it also has the word house in the title, which is our last prompt. So we've got, last but not least, seek a book with the word house in the title. So if you're struggling, we've got Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. I do own this book. I own this because I won a reading challenge at my work. last year, and the prize was to pick a book written by a Black author. And I chose this book. I did not care for this book, but maybe you will. It just was not for me. You can see that I have like tabbed it because when I read it, I was making notes. This one follows a girl who goes to Catherine House, which is a place. It is like a college for gifted individuals, but it's kind of weird, and there's some weird stuff happening in the background. So yeah. So it does have house. The other book, I picked this up from my work, is called A House of Ghosts by W.C. Ryan. This is a mystery. If anything, I would say this is kind of dark academia with a sci-fi twist. This is a mystery set in the 1900s. Finalist for the MBA Irish Book Awards, Crime Fiction Book of the Year, a classic mystery haunted by the specters of World War I. So it's set in the early 1900s, winter 1917 specifically. This is during the course of World War I, taking place in England. We are at Blackwater Abbey, and Lord Highmount has arranged a spiritualist gathering to contact his two sons, both of whom died at the front. And we've got people who have shown up, and essentially things start to go wonky, of course, because they're all trapped on this island and someone's gonna die. And of course, the Blackwater Abbey is haunted. And it's early 1900s, so there'll be like some spiritualism, those kinds of fun things. It sounds really, really good. I picked this up. I do want to read it, but I also picked it up because my work is doing a themed reading challenge for the year as well. And we are doing decades. So every month is a new decade or a period of time that they would like us to read books set in. So January were books set in the 1800s. I did not get to those. I didn't get a chance to read a book set in the 1800s. And February, it is set either in the 1900s or the 1910s. So we have a 20-year. And this book is set in 1917. So I would love to get to this if I have the chance. It sounds super good. But the book that I am reading, where did it go, is, I've said it before, I'm going to do it, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This was also gifted to me. I own this book. This is also one of my 24 and 24. It is the first in a duology, I believe. I think there's only going to be two. The second book is called, it just came out, something at the sea? I don't know. But this is, of course, Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment. Travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at that strangest of islands, he's greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the greatest mystery of which is Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur go closer, Linus discovers the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn. Or worse, his secret comes to light. The House in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story, masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlikely family in an unexpected place and realizing that family is yours. So yes, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune is what I am reading for this prompt. So, I have 2 other books, technically 3, that I would like to get to, if time allows. I've already mentioned this one, A House of Ghosts. I would love to get to this book this month if I could. The other books is, we've got Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. I'm still trying to read this. I've mentioned it a couple times. This is top 20 horror of 2022. I need to get a move on. This is It's Time to Come Home. I've read it before, but I'll go over it really, really quickly once more. The Hull family has owned the Gallows Hill winery for generations. The sprawling old house has long been perched on top of a hill overlooking the nearby town, jealously guarding the estate's secrets. Their wine wins awards, their business prospers, their family thrives until Hugh and Maria Hull enter the dark halls of Gallows Hill one last time and are found dead the next morning. People whisper that the curse has awakened once more. It's been more than a decade since Margot Hull last saw her childhood home. She was young enough when she was sent away that she barely remembers its dark passageways and secret corners. But now she's returned to bury her parents and reconnect with the winery that is her family's legacy, and the bloody truth of what exactly lies buried beneath the crumbling estate. Alone in the sprawling, dilapidated building, Margot is forced to come face to face with the horrors of the past and realize that she may be the next victim of a house that never rests. So, Darcy Coates is a prolific horror author. And then finally, I have a secondary goal as well. I've already mentioned this. I have a couple goals for reading. I have them, priority ranked. Another goal that I have, though, is that essentially every other month I want to switch between reading a book that is outside of my comfort zone or my go-to genres, and then a nonfiction. So in January, I started off with reading outside of my comfort zone, which was Exquisite Corpse by William Martin. That book was extreme horror and definitely something I had never read before, and it was very much outside of my go-to. I read horror, yes, but I have never delved into the world of extreme horror. I talk about that book in my January reading vlog, which will be coming out soon. I'm finishing up editing that, so don't worry. But that was outside of my comfort zone. So this month in February, my goal would be to read a nonfiction book, and I've mentioned it before. I mentioned it, I think, back in November or December. I have Ace, which is What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. And Angela Chen themselves, she is asexual, and she writes and speaks about asexuality at academic conferences and stuff, because we don't know much about it. Many people who hear about asexuality consider it an interesting piece of trivia. It's a little known sexual orientation that some people identify as asexual, and they should be accepted. Next, after all, if you're not asexual, what more is there to learn? Plenty, because misconceptions mean that some people are asexual without knowing it. In every place that sexuality touches society, asexuality does too, and the issues that asexuals struggle with are the same issues that people of every orientation are likely to confront. How much sexual desire is a person supposed to have? What does the amount of desire we experience mean about our politics, personalities, and prospects for relationships? What should it mean? The dividing line between romance and friendship seems clear, but what is the difference when you eliminate sex? How do you work through a mismatch of sexual desire in relationships? The questions may be near universal, but the answers look different from the asexual or ace perspective. Aces have had to create their own way of looking at the world, offering new perspectives on identity and invisible inequalities. Ace explores this world and those who have found a place in it. There's the religious man who followed all the rules, only to realize after marriage that his experience of sexuality has never been the same as that of others. There's the woman who ordered blood tests because she was convinced that not wanting sex was a sign of serious illness. Disabled aces, gender nonconforming aces, and aces of color question whether their orientation is a reaction against stereotypes, and their self-doubt reveals how power and history and sex interact. Aces who don't want romantic relationships ask whether there's room for them, while kinky aces explain why the kink scene feels safer than the vanilla world with its assumptions about consent. Everyone wonders how society can be remade to be more inclusive, because when it's more welcoming for aces, it will also be more welcoming for anyone who isn't sexual in the right way. Through reportage, cultural criticism, and memoir, Ace shows what we can all gain from the Ace lens. I'm really excited. I've wanted to read this. I've had it now for a couple months. I'm going to read it. So this is my nonfiction pick. And it feels fairly short considering a lot of nonfiction is not long. And I mean, including the notes, let's see, hang on, including the thank you, the further reading, the notes, and the index, it's only 209 pages. Like, that's including all of that. The actual text itself looks like it's less than 200 pages. It's 188 pages. So, cool. So that's that. Those are the books that I want to read, plus a couple more that I would like to read if I get the chance. But that's what's going on in February. Like I said, I am still in the process of editing my January reading vlog. I filmed over the course of the entire month of January the books that I was reading, so I have a lot of footage that I need to piece together, and it is on its way. But I wanted to go ahead and give you this February TBR, and that's that. So I will talk to you all very, very soon. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you later. Happy reading, happy stitching, happy watching, happy listening, happy doing whatever it is that makes you happy doing. Be easy with your arts.